So the slot after lunch is not only a challenge for the audience, it's today also a challenge for the speaker, I have to say. So I need your energy, I need your eyes, I need your, I need your smiles. Otherwise I might drown a little bit, especially considering that we had such exciting and amazing conversations this late morning already, and I enjoyed it very much. Thank you to all I had the opportunity to speak to so far. It's also a challenge because we had such amazing presentations this morning by exciting industries, and now I'm showing up coming from the most traditional, the most conservative industry you can imagine, pharmaceuticals. So I still try to make it as engaging as they were capable to, but please forgive me if our journey might still be a little bit behind. A little bit about Roche. Roche is among the top 5 in pharma, 125 years old, roughly 100,000 employees around. We are talking about 80 country affiliations, and this is a scale. So I'm not showing this just to show, hey, Roche, great company, top 5, and so on and so forth. There are some messages within. And one message is scale, which is really a challenge we have. Another challenge is 80 affiliations around the globe means 80 cultures. 80 environments, 80 legal and regulatory environments. And when we talk about pharma, you have different business models. So at Roche, we have a unit which is called Roche Diagnostics. Roche Diagnostics is classical B2B. So those colleagues sell medical devices to medical centers, to practitioners. This is a purely B2B business. Then we have a business unit that is called Roche Diabetes Care. And if you suffer from diabetes, and I deeply hope you do not, but in case you will know Roche as one of the vendors of one of the providers. This is very close to really a B2C business. So those colleagues very closely work with patients. They see really the patient as a customer. Similar is it with what we call over-the-counter drugs, OTC drugs, aspirin, ibuprofen, paracetamol, this kind of stuff, what you can buy yourself in the pharmacy, and then certainly you are closer being a customer. Now, Roche Pharma, we talk about first really severe diseases. We talk about multiple sclerosis. We talk about breast cancer and other types of cancer. We are talking about diseases where you cannot buy the treatment yourself in the pharmacy, where this is typically applied by a doctor in a medical center. So even though it's rarely a pill, a minority of our products is being the pill you take yourself at home. Here we talk about B2B2C business. So who is our customer in that case? Especially considering that I stumbled over my own story, so I really need to remember my story after all those conversations this morning. This is our CX mission statement. And for you, it might sound, yeah, good, CX is transformative as science, blah, blah, blah. But you need to consider and to know that Roche is very proud, for decades being proud, being a science-driven company. So this science, this hits the internal trigger about something we are anyhow proud of. It gives people internally a relation to the weight CX has. It also gives a relation towards getting an understanding that perhaps science is not everything. So what I see not only at Roche, but in pharmaceuticals in general, being science-driven, you are facts, figures, scientific data-driven. What's about empathy? What's about emotions? When I speak with business teams about customer emotional targets, the answer is get customer emojis? What are we talking about? No, customer emotional target. This is traditionally completely out of our scope. We do not consider behavioral drivers. We do not consider emotions people might have. It's really hard for us to really generate true personas. to get a complete understanding of the person beyond being a doctor treating a patient in a particular disease area and being the scientific specialist and knowing all about the disease. This is part of it, but this is a person which has a 12, 14, 16, 20 hours job with a family at home and how to deal with that. And traditionally, we don't considering that. With CX, we try to change it. So coming back to the question, who is our customer? If you ask me, it's the patient. That's my answer. This might not be the industry answer. So if you look a little bit around, Google me a little bit, you might find the statement a couple of times. But I invite you to consider that internally in our traditional business model, this is an extremely provocative statement. Because traditionally in our business model, the patient doesn't show up anywhere. Overdoing a little bit it's a kind of a pill-eating cow. It's not the customer. Our traditional business model is not focused on the patient as a customer. The issue with that is that the world is changing. And even provided historically, there was always the physician, so your treating doctor in between. And it still is today. That is your trusted partner. That's the one who's providing you care, guidance, diagnosis, treatment recommendations, and so on and so forth. But if you look closer, the role of the patient is increasing. If I look in my own family, and I think about my grandmother, and certainly with her disease, she came back and she was speaking about her doctor as it would have been God. With my mother, it was different already. So my mother already started to challenge what her treating doctor was telling her. I certainly have different conversations with my treating physicians. And if I look at my daughter, she will have definitely show up in those kind of appointments better informed. So what I've showed you earlier, top 5 pharma, there is a hidden competitor in this list. Who is this hidden competitor? Tell me. Who said it? Dr. Google. We call it Dr. Google, yes. Because this is not just about selling drugs. This is not only providing treatment. This is about having sovereignty about what the world knows about your product. And there, our major competitor is Dr. Google and all the crap you can find. I was in a couple of discussions over the past weeks, more accidentally, by the way, around what's the future of artificial intelligence in our customer engagement in pharma. And I realized at some point in time, even if we don't use it actively, even if we might not use it actively, we need to consider it. Because people who are showing up, and this can be patients showing up with their physician, or it can be the doctors themselves who are speaking to our representatives. They might have spoken to ChatGPT before. Do we consider speaking to people who might have some bias based on ChatGPT already, and how do we deal with it? So out of a sudden, there's a third person in the room, and I think today we are not considering this properly. So again, to me, the patient is the customer, and likely officially everybody will give you this answer, but the reality is different. The reality means it depends. So for some of my colleagues, and you see Roche as part of this network around the patient, some of our colleagues speak to physicians and KOLs. So KOLs are key opinion leaders. Those are the strong scientific voices in the markets. They have a stronger voice in the markets. They are very important for us. So this is a classical customer. It's a classical customer engagement, what we consider as such. Other roles might speak to so-called patient advocacy groups, so the professional patient, the patient representatives. But those are also people who are used to speak with us, to engage with us. Others might talk to providers, so medical centers, to pay us health insurances because they are paying. Others might speak to, we need to speak to governmental organizations, governmental bodies, because they decide if the product is on the market or not. So we are not really speaking, we are speaking about a complex market. And this is a general challenge industry-wide. The customer is more an ecosystem, so it depends. We have multiple customer engaging functions. We have the commercial and the medical function engaging, plus perhaps even more, speaking to the same customers independently. We are talking about that everything we do and we communicate is highly regulated. So our hands are bound. We cannot do things you can do in other countries, and it's even worse because something you can do in the US, you cannot do in Germany. Something you can do in Germany, you cannot do in Spain. Something you can do in Spain, you cannot do in the UK. So, and then applying a global approach, coming back to the point, 80 country affiliates around the globe gets to kind of a challenge where you need to find a balance between over-customizing to an individual one, but still having a corporate approach. Last not least, safety incident reporting challenge. If one of you tells me here, just sitting having a coffee, tells me, well, last week I used, or my brother got a Roche treatment and it smelled bad, I'm obliged to report within 24 hours business day. This is a legal obligation. And if I fail, the company has an issue. But this means this applies to every channel. So when we are doing VOC, voice of the customer at scale, who's checking that? It's no issue today because the numbers are still low as we are starting this. I'm coming to this in a minute. But let's say in the year 25 and we are at scale, we might talk about 10,000, if not 100,000 of voices. Who is checking that for those kind of events? Roche has particular challenges because we are a large and complex organization, but we are also decentralized and fragmented organization. There's no top-down. There is no top-down. I sometimes wish I would have more top-down, but no one is telling, for example, the organization CX is what we want to do. This is not an issue of CX. No one is telling you anything we need to do. So this is maximum agility, which is good, but also has its challenges. So, but the good piece of it is, whatever you do, the affiliates need to adopt. So this reduces, this puts some pressure on rubbish being done. That's the pro side of it. So whatever you do, you need to convince people that's the right thing to do. There's no one pushing through, and it could be rubbish. I mentioned it already, most Roche therapies are used in medical centers, and last not least, we are addicted to the old business model. And this concerns digital, this concerns CX, this actually considers everything. We still, and I might accidentally blame some colleagues who are doing better already, some product teams who are doing better already, but in general it's a mess. We are stuck in an old way doing things. We are stuck always doing banner ad campaigns, talking about our narrative, what we want the world to know about our product. And I have anecdotes around this which are really frightening because this leads, factually proven, to loss of business, to loss of money. This leads to patients who are not on treatment but should be with a treatment which is getting worse and worse. We are not talking about, okay, you're not on treatment, okay, but no, it's getting worse and worse. You will lose your sight. You will die. This has an impact on physicians being frustrated because patients are not on treatment. And this is associated with us not losing the money we could earn with it. So we have a triple loss where we could have a triple win. And one of the key things which is blocking it is we are special. We are so different from all other industries. I'm quite confident you all know that in your companies. My product is special, my customers is special, my country is special, my culture is special. With us, it's even our industry is so special. Are we really? And I'm happy to say that together with a bunch of other colleagues, we try to, not sure if this is the ideal and the most efficient approach, but to give some inspiration inside the company to say, well, there are opportunities even when we are special, but it could still work for us. Because those are established approaches, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. One part of this journey is the traditional operating model. I mentioned it already. We have our story, our narratives. We want the customer to know. We push it through. banner ad campaign, big media campaigns. Everybody knows that this is wasted money. Everyone knows it. All data are showing us this is rubbish. This has zero effect. But this is what we always have done. This is how I grew up in the company. This is what made me successful in previous roles. This is how I got to my position. So why should I change a horse that doesn't feel that? The change we are aiming for, but this is around actually for the whole company now, really putting the customer in the center, placing everything around. And out of a sudden, there are things showing up which are otherwise we never considered. Because we follow the physician, and not the physician follows us. Is this fully implemented today as a truly omnichannel model? No, but I dare to say we are quite well on this journey now. And I'm also happy to say that what I see is that in most of our affiliates and regions, this gets feet on ground. With global, that's a different game. But those who are close to the customer, they are working in that model already. And key of that is agreeing that we all follow a joint way of measuring success and impact. So last year, Roche developed and deployed a new metric system. I'm not digging into detail. If you're interested, we can speak about it offline. But basically, there are 5 pillars. Going from the classical ones, from reach and engagement, these are the classical tick counters, right? Click-through rates, return rates, change rates, whatsoever. What is new to us are now, it's coming in the middle, is satisfaction. So we're talking about things like customer effort score. So how difficult is it for me to speak to Roche? How difficult is it for me to get an information from Roche? Me as a patient or as a doctor who wants to use this medication. To customer satisfaction, so am I happy with the answer I got? Plus TNPS. So transactional NPS on all our classical transaction points. Last but not least, this is then more on the corporate side. So outcome are internal corporate metrics, classical KPIs. And with perception, it's mostly a yearly survey where we measure in a quite sophisticated survey the type of relationship with a single customer, with a named customer, and the quality of this relationship. And the ambition is to move out of a world, to move out of a world where we did not consider, this is 2021, no, 22 even, 2022, this is the world of 22. With 500 metrics, 500 metrics across the organization. It's impossible to map those data. There's no way to map those data, 500, coming out of 500 metrics. Into a world where we consolidate it and we follow 3 simple rules. First, we all use the same metric for answering the same question. Second, we all call it the same. And last but not least, we all use the same score range. So no, you don't need to use a 1 to 10 score in Germany and a 1 to 3 score in France and a 1 to 6 score in Germany. No way to map those data. But let's just use the same. We're asking the same question. For Roche, this is a big step. Decentralized organization, a lot of independence of teams and affiliates. This is a key step, and it's foundational for everything else. My love at the moment, so I'm 150% of my energy, time and efforts in 23, and as it looks like also in 24 goes into the development and the deployment of our global voice of the customer program. And the principle is very simple. You plug it into, in an ideal world, by end of 26, you plug it into all those channels. Those data are collected via VSO platform. And at the end, there's something we call inner loop. So this feedback is someone is looking at it and taking action. The challenge here is not the technology. The challenge is not this nice picture of a loop process. The challenge is how to move people to consider it. Again, I have a list of anecdotes which sound frightening, but how can I motivate someone to say, okay, this is what the customer tells us, can you please take action on it? So for me, the key with VOC is taking action, not the data collection. It's also, there are some efforts associated, no doubt, feasible. But to motivate the organization, the business teams, the product and disease teams to take action, this is the holy grail. With the inner loop, it's a little bit, let's say it's solved, because most likely the inner loop goes via the, some of you might call them key accounter, those primary point of contacts. And they can take action. The important point is that everybody who's involved needs to understand asking for feedback and opinion without taking action is a really, really bad idea. So imagine I'm a physician, I'm a doctor, I'm caring for you. I'm seeing physicians at a sequence 15 minutes each. So I don't have a lot of time for my patients. Now I'm investing answering a question by Roche. I'm investing time in that. I'm giving an honest feedback. Then nothing happens. How would you feel? Cheated. You would say, what is this, Roche? You ask me and then nothing happens. The good news is we also have positive examples already. So we have a pilot in Spain. There we got one feedback. Okay, pilot scope was, everything was, smaller, better control, clear accountabilities. We got a feedback by a physician in Spain saying, I hate you, Roche. He used a little bit nicer words, but the message is, I hate you. Because you are providing a treatment for a disease where I'm the specialist. I have patients on this disease, and you don't talk to me. I'm working at the medical center, which is a specialist center for this disease, and never ever nobody from Roche shows up. I'm even highly resistant giving you this feedback, and you felt it was just, he had this emotion of having the opportunity just spitting this on our feet. 2 days later, someone from Roche stood in front of the door. And within 1 week, we turned a detractor into a promoter. Just by being there, just by listening, just by showing we listen, we hear you, and we take action on what you do. This is an interesting business case. I use this in the company. If someone is asking me, well, what's the value? What is it worth the investment? This is something where I can show up with, and where every general manager will instantly say, yes, this is what I need. In addition, we have what we call the outer loop. So in parallel, all data go into the Roche data lake and are used by various kind of views, let's call it like that. So we have a corporate dashboard for our management, but also for dedicated functions. This is a pulse check, but different data are collected in a consolidated view. Amazing, amazing. I would have loved to have that at the times when I was in a directly customer engaging role. To our journey mapping linked. We have a tool on what is the next best action to take, and also a 360-degree customer view. But this is more an outer loop focused on organizational learning. The inner loop is for taking immediate action on something that's showing up. I need help now. The outer loop is about allowing the organization to develop, to adjust the strategy, to adjust the campaigns. So mapping it to state-of-the-art of CX according to the CCXP's 5 CX competencies. We have a lot of things in place already, but somehow the boxes are missing or the color is missing. So now imagine in front of your inner eyes, after lunch, with all the energy I ask you for, there would be colors. I'm not sure what happened here anyhow. So some things are in place. We have the CX metrics. I need to stay in this. So we have the CX metrics. We have CX upscaling. We have now the VOC. We also, by the way, we also will kick off in January Voice of the Patient. This is also going to come now. Big effort for the organization. We are getting better with personas. We have journeys. We have a new corporate CRM since last year, which is unifying and coming out of a world where we had 20 CRMs across Roche. Yes, sorry. My apologies. We changed it, so we improved. 20, perhaps even more, depending on how you count it. So we are making big progress. Some of those boxes might not be green, if the color would be shown. And just a very quick run through our journey. So around 2018, the company decided formally, strategically, by corporate vision, mission, to be an intentional customer-centric company. So culture should be there after all those years. And you can feel the culture when you speak to, like to me, but also other colleagues. I would dare to say, whoever you speak to at Roche, we got it here. So I'm also, someone mentioned it this morning, I'm getting a little bit resistant to this. Yeah, it's a mindset issue. And no, it's a doing issue sometimes. Mindset is you cannot really achieve without mindset, but mindset alone is not getting the work done. This when I joined, heading at that time, so building and heading the medical customer experience department in 2019. That was my entry into Roche. And at the same time, in our APAC region, Asia Pacific, they had really, on regional level, really, to my opinion, highly mature CX strategy in place. And a lot of things we are doing today are still coming from those times. So for example, the VC program I'm now heading is a result of that. At that time, I asked someone in my team, can you please play a little bit about what we could do with customer feedback? So sometimes it takes a while. Sometimes you need to have the patience to see the tiny little plant grow slowly, but as long as it's growing, we're on the right track. 2020, we had redesign of the field engagement model, which was industry trailblazing. So I mentioned those different roles. In 2020, we put them into one. And the whole industry said, ooh. Because this is, I'm not going into details, but this was completely out of thinking. This was getting to mass. But it was foundational for the next step, saying, okay, then let's also merge the commercial and medical, digital and CX activities into one. We're talking about the same customer. Why do we need, like mine before, I was heading all the digital touch points on the medical side across Roche, but the same customers also touched other touch points. Shouldn't we do that together? In one, and again, it's about the customer and what the customer needs, and not about the logic of our organization. We created the Pharma CX ambition I've mentioned initially. We started with journey orchestration. I'm not going to tell you how much journeys we had in place in the past, then you would completely fall off chair. And we started having maturity assessments with the affiliates. So really asking, well, where are you? For getting an understanding of different levels across the organization. Because applying the same to all at the same time, being at different levels, might not be the best approach. With VOC, taking this as one example, we have affiliates, Canada, Spain, France, eventually Italy, who are very mature. So they need different things than an affiliate that has never ever asked the customer for feedback before. 2022, the CX measurement framework came in place and the omnichannel strategy. 2023, now corporate CRM, I mentioned it already, corporate VOC program, customer portal evolution with our customer portals. We also had 5 or 6 around the globe, I don't know, same, get it together. For 24, still an open box, things continue. Something I can say, we start to discuss AI. We had some exciting discussions at the table this morning. I really enjoyed it. There are some aspects to that in our industry because it starts with, for example, when whoever is giving an answer on a treatment, on a diagnose, there is no tolerance. There is 99.9% is not enough. It needs to be always 100%. Because if the answer would just be the nuance wrong, it can have a severe impact on your health, on your family's life. If the answer is not exactly precise. And this is, I'm deeply convinced we will make this happen, but we need to learn. I'm jumping over that. This is a little bit out of time, and I'm willing to share those slides. So that would be our key learnings. And the key message is CX happens not by talking, but by walking. Let's do it. Thank you very much.